Hi, this is Kieran Milne. I'm a tech lead with the Juniper Networks certification program here at Education Services in Juniper Networks. This Learning Byte discusses firewall filter basics for Junos-based devices. So firewall filters are a set of rules that control the flow of traffic into and out of a device. Generally, they consist of a set of from-then statements. Now, the from portion is a set of matching conditions, and the then portion is the resulting action that happens when a packet matches against those conditions. Firewall filters on Junos-based devices are supported for a variety of protocols, as you can see there, IPv4, IPv6, MPLS, and so on, and there are more than are listed here as well. So let's look at the structure of a firewall filter. You can see on the diagram over at the right there, this firewall filter, or any firewall filter for that matter, has one or more terms. Each term is evaluated in order until a match is found. Now, within a term, you can include one or more matching conditions. Those are the rules of the filter and the term. And all conditions in a given term must be met for a match to happen. You can see down at the bottom there, if no match happens as a packet works its way through a firewall filter, there is a default action built into Junos-based devices of discard. Now you can reconfigure this if you wish to include a term that is a default except. Here's a look at the configuration syntax for a firewall filter. You can see the work is done under the Edit Firewall hierarchy level. The first option there is the family. You can create firewall filters specific to a particular protocol family. Like we saw earlier, IPv4 would be INET here, IPv6, INET6, MPLS, Ethernet switching, and there are more as well. The filter names and the term names are custom defined by you, so you can define whatever name you wish. Some people use full words, some people use numbers, some use letters, entirely your choice. You can see the from statement with the matching conditions there. Now the match conditions can generally be pretty much any field in a header of a packet. So that can include numeric values, a port value, for example. It can include an IP address or a range of IP addresses, or it can also include bit fields, such as the TCP flags settings or the TOS bits. Then there's the then statement, and it includes a set of actions or action modifiers as well. So the actions could include accept the packet or reject or discard it. Also, modifiers include things like logging the fact that the packet went through the filter, or counting the number of packets. You can also do sampling and perform some class of service items as well, like policing. And there are other options. And once again, down at the bottom, you see that implicit discard rule that's in place. Now, one thing to note is that you'll never see that item in the configuration. It is truly an implicit rule and is built into the device. Now, another important step for firewall configuration is to apply the firewall filter that you've created. A filter does nothing on its own until you apply it to an interface. Now, you apply a firewall filter under the logical settings for an interface. You can see the filter input and output options there in the command syntax. You can apply one input filter and one output filter per interface, or you can use something called an input list and an output list, which lets you specify a series of input filters or a series of output filters to use as kind of a chain of filters. You can also apply a single filter to multiple interfaces. So let's try creating a firewall filter on a router. what I have here is a small network of two routers, R1 and R2. We are going to create a firewall filter on R1, and then we are going to move over to R2, send some traffic towards R1, and see what happens. So I'm going to get into configuration mode here, and I'm going to start to create a firewall filter. I'm going to specify the family of INET, so I'm going to make this an IPv4 firewall filter. I need to give it a filter name, so let's call it ICMP filter. The first term I'm simply going to call term A. And now let's make a from statement. So the neighboring IP address for this particular network setup is 10.200.12.2. And I'm going to add that as one of my from criteria. Now I'm going to reuse that statement and add another criteria here. And I'm going to make it from protocol ICMP. So what I want to do is I want to make this filter pay attention to ICMP traffic from that particular source address. So let's see what we've got here so far. You can see there's our configuration. So far so good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the then statement. So this is, what happens when we match on these conditions. So the first thing I want to do is I want to discard traffic that comes in that matches this firewall filter. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to count it. So I want to see how many packets like this are actually coming at my device. Now when you use the count feature, you need to add a name to the counter. So I'm going to add a name here. Let's do another show command. And now you can see things look pretty good. We've got our filter name, we've got our term, we've got a from and a then statement, and we're all set. So let's commit this. Now let's go over to R2 and try sending some traffic over to R1 and see what happens. So the IP address to get over to R1 is 10.200.12.1. And I'm going to send, pardon my typing, I'm going to send 5 ping packets over to R1. Here we go. Now you can see that our firewall filter doesn't appear to be working very well. All of the ping packets worked just fine. There was no issue. Now if I switch back to R1, I'm going to run a command, an operational show command called show firewall, and it shows us the firewall filters on our device and how they're working. So here's our filter called ICMP filter. There's the counter, by the way, and you can see there's nothing happening. We're not triggering counts against that particular filter. Now, you may or may not have figured out what happened here, but the problem we have is, remember that there are 2 steps to configuring a firewall filter. One is to create the filter, and the other is to apply it somewhere. And that's the step we haven't done here. So now I'm going to go and apply this filter onto an interface. So I'm onto the interface that connects over to R2. I'm under logical unit 0, family INET, and I'm going to do a filter input, and I'm going to call the ICMP filter that I created. There we go. And so now I'm going to commit that. And let's go over to R2 again, and let's try this ping of 5 packets again. Now you can immediately see something's going on different here. It's not sending the packets properly. So now let's do our run show firewall command here. And now you can see, sure enough, our ICMP filter is triggering counts against the 5 packets. So that's an overview of the basics of firewall filtering on Junos-based devices. There are several additional resources if you'd like some more information on firewall filters. The first is a set of training courses. These are lecture and hands-on based courses. The first one is called Junos Routing Essentials. It includes some general firewall configuration among its content. Another course that includes Layer 2 and VLAN specific firewall configuration information is the Junos Enterprise Switching course. And third, if you want to look into using firewall filters for class of service purposes, like packet classification and policing, you can check out the Junos Class of Service course. In terms of documentation, the technical publications have very detailed coverage around firewall filters and packet filtering. The technical publications tend to vary slightly with their naming across the different product lines, so I suggest you simply go into Juniper.net/techpubs and search according to your particular product, and you'll find your way to the firewall filtering documentation. Again, very detailed information on exactly what actions are available for your device, what matching conditions there are, all the very detailed information about generating multi-term filters and all of that kind of good stuff. So I hope you found this enjoyable. Good luck configuring and using firewall filters on Junos-based devices. Bye for now.
Juniper Learning Bites. View more at www.juniper.net/learningbites. They're free, concise lessons on specific subjects, relevant for all skill levels, taught by training experts, and available whenever and wherever you're ready to learn. Juniper Learning Bites. Expand your knowledge bit by bit.